Talking to Grant Paulsen, of course, Grant Danny Show, 2 to 6:30 here on The Fan. Grant, you tweeted about Terry McLaurin. Why hasn't he asked for a trade? Explain why you think it doesn't make any sense that he hasn't asked for a trade.
Well, it's just very rare that anybody holds out in this era, in this new CBA timeframe, JP, that you wouldn't come to work because it's so counterproductive. You get fined and have to pay $50,000 a day for not showing up. And the team, at one point in time years ago, could at the end of it kind of forgive you and go, oh, we're not going to make you pay. Well, now in this new CBA, you can't do that. Like, eventually you have to pay the piper unless you add it into your contract to kind of make it a wash on the back end. So he showed back up for a hold-in, which is kind of what I thought he was going to do to begin with. But when I had tweeted that over the weekend, he'd still not shown up. He was accruing $50,000 fines every single day. And my point was, almost nobody does that. Like, the two guys right now that are holding out are McLaurin and Trey Hendrickson, who's called his coach a liar and has called his team a bunch of names this offseason and is, like, tweeting out shtick from Florida. Very, very unhappy. He's asked for a trade. I would be willing to guess that if you go back over the last several years, there's only a handful of guys that have held out. If you're willing to go that far to the end of the earth, kind of scorched earth, so to speak, you also ask for a trade. I think the idea that you would not be at practice holding out to that extent of acrimony, but not ask for a trade, that's a really small runway to put a plane down on. So my point is, it's kind of weird to me that he hasn't done both. That's his leverage. He's got two options. Don't show up and ask for a trade. And he's done A but not B. And just in talking to some people around him recently, the idea is there's a time and place for everything, and they don't feel like maybe the time is yet. But I don't know that they spoke. I don't mean this was Terry, but it didn't sound to me like there's no chance that it ever happens. But as of right now, they don't want to use basically that button that would escalate things.
Do you get the sense more than ever that, he may just have to play the season out under the contract and then, deal with it afterwards, whether or not they think about franchising him or he can move on? Like, is it more likely today than it ever has been sort of in our minds? Because we've always just sort of assumed that they would just come to an agreement, reasonable people would come to an agreement, and they would take care of him on some level, and we'd be done with this.
It's definitely more possible with every day that passes. There's no doubt. I still refuse to believe that would be the case, because if he were to play out the season on his contract, number one, you are risking him still not participating in preseason games, right? I would have said if he was just holding out, well, he's got to show up for the preseason because he's going to get fined $811,000 every time he doesn't play in a preseason game. There's three of them. And in every regular season game, it's almost $1 million fine. He's not going to accrue that. But if he's holding in with this, and I'm going to use air quotes here, foot injury that he's dealing with, this ankle foot thing that he's got that has him on PUP list, well, there's no rush for him to get back. Like, he could stay on that list in perpetuity and just not really feel well, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So he could essentially not play this season if he was serious about it. Now, I don't really think he's that kind of guy, which is where I would say there's a possibility that they just hold their ground, they don't budge, and eventually he begrudgingly shows back up and plays this football season. But as soon as the year starts and he doesn't have a deal, he's gone at the end of the year. I mean, the acrimony would be so substantial, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Think about it like a Nats player that we talk about all the time. Once the offseason begins and you're a free agent to be in a few months, why would you re-sign before going to market? So he's going to hit the market, and someone's going to pay him what Washington hasn't been willing to. So I think they either get this thing done before the end of the preseason, or this is his final year in Washington.
They don't franchise him? You don't see that as a possibility?
Sure, they could do that, but they don't want to pay him right now close to the $30+ million figure that he's asking for. The franchise tag next year is 1 year at $30 million. You could do the Cousins thing if you feel like he's got one good year left or something like that.
You just nickel and dime him. You just do it 1 year at a time. Squeeze out whatever you can.
I think there's 1 year where that financially makes sense because it's 120% of your franchise tag number the year before. So he would be up to like the Justin Jefferson money almost the second year. So if they went that route, they would basically be just franchise tagging him and opting into another offseason of turmoil, another offseason where he doesn't show up at camp, another offseason where he shows back up right around week one or the preseason or whatever that is, and his agent's upset and he's doing, promos at Eastern Motors or Chick-fil-A or wherever he decides to go that time. is that really worth it? To me, no. I would say it's not. But maybe they decide that they want to do that and tag him for one more year.